Insane human defense is a perfect name which we can give to Sergey Karjakin when he plays beautiful insane defensive games. In this video, we are going to see Game 3 of World Chess Championship 2016, where let's see how Sergey Karjakin held his nerve strongly to hold a draw against Mozart of chess Magnus Carlsen. So without wasting time, let's get into the video. Okay, let's start seeing this game. White is Magnus Carlsen and black is Sergey Karjakin playing in the World Chess Championship 2016, third round of the World Chess Championship 2016, third game. So Magnus played e4, Karjakin played e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Carlsen chose the rail opus and Karjakin went on with the Berlin, knight f6. And now Carlsen played castle. Many commentators, Judith Polgar, Yasa Seirawan, who are commentating the tournament, expected Carlsen to play d3. But okay, Carlsen chose to play Berlin conversion, knight takes e4. And now if white had played d4, then it is a Berlin, as after d4, knight d6, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, d takes e5, knight f5, queen takes d8, king takes d8. This is a Berlin position, and it is an equal game which many players in the elite play often. But coming back, Carlsen played rook e1, which is another move which is played by the elite players in the elite format. Karjakin played knight d6. These all are theories. Knight takes e5, bishop e7, bishop f1, preserving that bishop for future. After in the future they will play g3, bishop g2 and activate the bishop through the g2 d5 diagonal. Knight takes e5, rook takes e5, castle. And now, since it is just a third game of the World Chess Championship 2016, both players are playing really kind of equal position and not doing anything ambitiously to win immediately. So yeah, these all are theories. Carlsen plays d4, Karjakin plays bishop f6, rook e2. Rook e2 is a bit slight interesting move. Rook e1 is also possible, but Carlsen chooses rook e2. Now after b6, Karjakin's idea is to play bishop a6. Let's say if Magnus plays simply something like c3, for example, Karjakin plays bishop a6 and simplifies this light square bishop, and now it is like, the position is really awkward for white as all their minor pieces isn't developed, so white won't prefer this. So coming back, for b6, for rook e2, b6, white played rook e1. Nice move. Magnus doesn't think of wasting moves or something. He's just playing according to opponent's threats. Karjakin played rook e8, bishop f4, rook takes e1, queen takes e1, queen e7, which is the correct move for black in this position. Now if black had played bishop takes d4, which isn't needed in such a big world championship, this risk isn't needed at all, but Karjakin didn't play it. If we take it, then white will play bishop takes d6, and now first is c takes d6. Now queen e4, attacking a8 rook and d4 bishop. So now black's only move is, this is a small variation, just I want to show you this. Bishop takes b2, queen takes a8, and now if you take bishop takes a1, white will play bishop a6 and win the c8 bishop and will be a piece up in the endgame. So black will play queen f8. The a1 rook is already gone. White can't defend it. That's why he just prevents white's threat. and Carlsen can now play knight c3. If bishop takes c3, then he will save his rook and he's exchange up. So Karjakin has to take bishop takes a1, and now after knight d5, the position is really cramped for black. Pawn structures are really weak, and now Karjakin's best chance is bishop f6, bringing back the bishop. But now after knight takes f6, g takes f6, queen takes a7, all these f7, f6, d7, d6, b6 pawns are really worst, and white has a clear advantage to win the game. So this was just a variation. Karjakin didn't play it. Coming back. Okay, so if bishop takes d4, then this all variation occurs in the board. So Karjakin precisely plays queen e7, and now Carlsen plays knight c3. Karjakin plays bishop b7, and now queen takes e7, bishop takes e7. I hope this position may have soon ended in a draw, but there was many twists in this game, which we can see Carlsen playing the beautiful in-game of his history of chess, and white has a clear advantage to win the game. So this was just a variation. Karjakin didn't play it. Coming back. Okay, so if bishop takes d4, then this all variation occurs in the board. So Karjakin precisely plays queen e7, and now Carlsen plays knight c3. Karjakin plays bishop b7, and now queen takes e7, bishop takes e7. I hope this position may have soon ended in a draw, but there was many twists in this game, which we can see Carlsen playing the beautiful in-game of his history of chess, but he miscalculated and missed a win in the at last of this endgame. Okay, so Carlsen played a4, Karjakin played a6, Carlsen plays g3. Nothing is happening in this position. It's something like slowly they are. Carlsen is trying to build. Karjakin just needs a draw. Draw is enough as he's playing the black pieces. It's not needed to him to take some risk and play for a win. Not needed for now. For now, he can draw and prepare for his next game in white. But anyway, if he gets chance, then he will try for a win. Okay, so Magnus plays g3. Magnus is slowly grinding the position, seeing how can he win, how can he plan for a win, and he's doing that. g5, bishop takes d6, bishop takes d6. Even though Karjakin has two bishops, his position is something like a bit double bishops. After soon Carlsen plays bishop g2. He can't play something like c6. It completely makes his bishop worse than a pawn. So bishop takes g2, king takes g2. Even though this is a draw, equal position, 0.0 equal position, Karjakin must be a little careful about the knight forks, skewers, etc. He's a great player, so he will be careful. f5. I'm sorry. f5, knight d5. Carlsen played knight d5. King f7, knight e3. Carlsen is rotating his knight from c3 to d5 to e3 to c4. Coming to c4 is his idea now. King f6, knight c4, bishop f8. Here, okay, it is it's a draw position, but playing rook e8 is a nice tempting move. As even though if Carlsen plays knight takes d6, it is a draw, but Karjakin just knew why taking such a risk, something like that. Keeping the bishops is a draw, but maybe, I don't know. Even bishop f8 is not a wrong move, it is a normal move. Karjakin played bishop f8. Carlsen played knight e5, rook d8. supporting d7. Knight takes d7 was a threat. I'm sorry. Sorry, wait. Carlsen played rook e1. Karjakin played rook d8. Carlsen played f4, which is a bit. I mean, he's securing something from in the e5 square, but it doesn't really help a lot. But anyway, he's trying his best. G takes f4, G takes f4, b5. A nice move from Carlsen. I mean Karjakin. 8 takes b5, 8 takes b5. Knight e3 was played. Maybe if knight e5, maybe it would have been better. But yeah, knight e3 is not a problem, big problem. Karjakin played c6. Yeah, which is nice. Knight, he's preventing knight d5. Maybe even bishop d6 was a nice move. But anyway, Karjakin played c6. King f3. Rook a8. And now Karjakin is trying to get counterplay from the a2 by coming rook a2 and picking up all the b2 pawns. I mean, yeah, in the future. Now rook e1. If Karjakin wished, he could have played bishop h6. So I mean, could have prevented Magnus from coming rook g5. But I don't know why. But Karjakin played rook a2. I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but okay. Still, the position is equal. Really slightly better for white, but yeah. b3, c5, and now I don't know whether c5 was needed, but anyway, this kind of defense, humans do actually. Computers defend really in a really sarcastic, artificial way, but humans defend positions really. I mean, what's the word you can use for that? Really awkward and unique way for that. I don't know what to use. Okay, so after c5, Karjakin Magnus played rook g8. Karjakin played king f7. Carlsen returned rook g2. Now Karjakin had no big option. He took c takes d4, and now knight takes f5. And now you can see the position is something like the pawn structure is broken now, and the d4 pawn seems like it's gonna fall soon. And now Karjakin is a little bit in trouble, but still the position is kind of slightly better for white. So there is a hope that Karjakin can defend. So Karjakin played d3, which was mostly the only move, as knight takes d4 was coming. If bishop c5, then rook g7 check is coming after king f6. Something like rook takes d7, I think so. If king takes f5, rook d5 check, king d6, rook takes c5. And now white is a pawn up and can press this endgame. I mean, coming back. Karjakin played d3. After c takes d3, black shouldn't take rook takes g2. That is an unnecessary endgame. Black would lose that if Magnus plays correctly and technically. And now Karjakin played rook a1. Maybe rook a3 attacking this b3 pawn would have been better, but I don't know why he played rook a1. But still, it's kind of a defensive move, so we can't say anything. Okay, so for rook a3, white's only moves rook b2, or else he can't support b3 pawn. And now after bishop b4, there is a heavy threat going on. And now let's say if white plays something like king e4, black simply plays bishop c3, and after rook b1 fixing b4, this bishop is really strongly held in c3 with the pawn on b4. So, okay, this would have been better than rook a1, but rook a1 was still a decent defensive move. Okay, so after rook a1, Carlsen played knight d4. Karjakin pushed his pawn to b4. Carlsen is a pawn up, so he is better, but winning this is really difficult for both players. Drawing is difficult and winning is difficult. Winning is difficult for Magnus and drawing is difficult for Karjakin. Okay, so rook g5 was played by Magnus. Rook b1 attacking, putting some pressure on the b3 pawn. Rook f5 check. King e8. And now Carlsen's best try was rook e5 check. Carlsen played rook b5 in the game. If rook e5 check was a better move, as after king d8, maybe something like sorry. Carlsen played rook b5. Sorry, rook e5 was not a move. Sorry, by mistake I said by mistake. Sorry. Carlsen played rook b5. Rook f1 check. King e4. Karjakin is playing now. He's playing a bit nervously, and now he got this time 40 move by the 40 move rule. As just now after king e4, Magnus completed his 40th move, and Karjakin gave a check and completed his 40th move by rook e1 check. And now both players start to think deeply and think of a great plan to either win for white or draw for black. Okay, so after rook d1, Karjakin played rook d1. Carlsen played rook e5 check. If rook b8 check, king e7, king e4, rook e1 check, king d5, rook d1, knight f5 check, king f7, d4, rook d3, rook d8. Actually coming back, rook b8 check was the best move. There is a difference between rook b8 check and rook e5 check. I'll tell you why. Rook b8 check was a better playing for a win move. See what's happening after rook b8 check. After king e7, king e4, white is bringing his king to the center by king d5 and placing it strongly, really strong. The king is really strong on d5. You can see that after knight f5 check, king f7, d4, rook d3, rook d8. This pawn is gonna be dangerous in future, as the king is really near to it. Yeah. Okay. So in the game, Carlsen played rook e5 check, which was a kind of dubious move when we compare it to rook b8 check. So what's the difference is king f7, rook d5, rook takes d3, and now you can't really take rook takes d7 check, as after king e8. If you play rook d5, then after bishop g7 you're losing a piece. I'm sorry, really sorry. If rook d5, if black plays bishop g7, white plays king e4, supporting d4 square. I'm really sorry. Okay, so after rook d5, black Karjakin plays a bit careful and active defenses by rook h3, taking off the h2 pawn. Now after rook e5 check, king f7, rook e2. He supports the h2 pawn, but now the things are getting really tricky for Karjakin. As of now, 47th move, both players have played almost around 5 hours or something, I think. 4.5 to 5 hours maybe, as this was a long game for Karjakin to hold a draw. Okay, so after bishop g7, Carlsen played knight c6. After rook h5 check, Karjakin played rook h5, king g4, rook c5, knight d8 check, king g6, sorry, yeah, king g6, knight e6. Now taking off the g7 bishop is a bit calculative. I mean, rook end games are mostly often ends in a draw. And after Magnus, in my opinion, Karjakin is the best end game player. So even Carlsen would have knew it. So Carlsen wouldn't have taken bishop on g7. Anyway, Karjakin played h5, king f3, rook c3 check, king e4, bishop f6. Karjakin saves his bishop, but I don't know. We should calculate that endgame. As Carlsen is a really, focused in grinding positions, equal positions, pawn up positions. Karjakin just saves his material to active defense. This is what we call insane defense, insane human defense. We should learn it from Sergey Karjakin's games. And I suggest viewers to study his games if you want to improve defensive skills. And now h4. And now I think if you play rook takes c3, then I think it's a direct draw. As Karjakin would play b takes c3, not taking with the bishop, taking with the b7, b4 pawn, and now c2, c1 is queening. So the first move for white is king d3. So after king d3, black can simply play king f5 and pick up the f4 pawn, and it's a draw. So after h4, Magnus played h3. Actually, h3 was a mistake. Carlsen had a nice chance to play knight f8 check, which he missed in the game. As after king f7, knight d7, bringing his knight to e5, something like that. Now after rook c2, white plays king f5, activating his king really strongly. And after bishop g7, now white can play h3. Carlsen played h3 in that position, but now this is kind of a better version of it. This is a better version of it. He should have played something like this and then played h3. Okay, so Carlsen played h3, which is a dubious move. Karjakin played rook c1, knight f8 check, king f7, knight d7, and now you can see the same position, but now it's kind of black to move. So black gets this important move, king e6. Karjakin often spots these kind of moves and plays it easily. Knight b6, rook d1, f5 check, king f7. I'm sorry viewers if you are getting some background noise. I will repair it from the next video. I'm really apologizing for that. Okay, so coming back to the game, knight c4. Carlsen played knight c4. Karjakin now played rook d4 check, king f3, and now bishop g5. Bishop g5 wasn't needed actually. Actually, Karjakin could have played rook d5 instead. As after king e2, something like if you play king g4, then the same rook d4 check followed by rook d5. Same problems may come. King e2, keeping an indirect threat. If you take rook takes f5, then knight d6 check occurs. So just for a prophylactic move, black plays king g7. And now white supports the f5 pawn by rook f3. And now Karjakin can play bishop g5. This is the better version of it, as now easily black gets king f6 in the next move, and he can grab up the f5 pawn easily, which could have ended the game easily in a draw, but Karjakin missed it and played bishop to g5. Carlsen now got back his chance again and played rook e4. Now rook b3 check, king g4, rook d3 check, king g4, rook g3 check, king h5, bishop e7. Now Carlsen should be a little bit careful as his king is really, in a kind of awkward position. He should be careful and he shouldn't get mated. Knight e5 check, king f6, knight g4 check, and now here we can see the real insane human defense. This move completely confuses any human in this world who plays chess. Really, anyone could have will play. I mean, sorry, anyone will play king f7 to save e7 bishop. Anyone, you can take anyone. Maybe some may play king takes f5. Karjakin played that. Anyone would want to save his bishop, right? He doesn't want to give this bishop in an important endgame. Of course, king f7 is the best move. King takes f5 was a mistake. But here's what Karjakin does. The human element works out. Carlsen is not an engine, so he utilizes that by playing king takes f5, confusing Magnus Carlsen. But I'm really sorry that unfortunately doesn't works, as after king takes f5. If you play directly rook takes e7, then it may work. I'm not sure. White's best option is rook e5 check, king f4, rook takes e7, rook takes h3. The point on being king on f4, you can understand why. After rook f3 check, black can't play king e4 as a knight f2 check is coming. So black's first move is king g3, and now after knight f2 attacking the rook, it is kind of study now, simple studies. Black's only moves rook h2. Now knight e4 check. Black's only move is king h3. If king g2, then rook f2 check. We can exchange rook. And even in king h3, after rook f3 check, king g2 is forced, and rook f2 check, you will exchange this rook and win this endgame. Okay, so I'm really sorry. I thought Karjakin played king takes f5. That's why I said something like that. Karjakin just retreated his king to f7. I'm really sorry. Apologize. Rook e6. And now Magnus plays rook e6. Rook takes h3. Knight f8 check. King g7. Yeah. Now you can see that the Karjakin is giving up his bishop and directly ending into a rook knight versus rook position. He thinks that he can draw that endgame. Carlsen doesn't want to play that endgame anyway, so he tries really hard to win with the pawns. After knight e5 check, anyway the e7 bishop is gonna be lost, as after king e8, white can play knight g6 and losing the bishop. Same for king f8, knight g6 check is coming, and for king g7 you are directly giving the bishop. But this is the correct chance. This is the correct chance Karjakin utilizes and plays the correct moves. Okay, so rook takes e7, and now Carlsen is actually winning. King f6. If he plays correctly, Carlsen can win the game. And now Karjakin exactly utilizes the point and holds on a draw by rook c3. I'm really sorry. Karjakin actually missed a great chance by playing. Karjakin played king takes f5, which was a mistake. He is lost. He is lost now if Magnus plays correctly. But Karjakin played king takes f5. He's lost. Okay, so let's see the correct move. I want the viewers to pause the video and find the correct move for black. How can he draw this endgame? Please pause the video and think of a few minutes and unpause the video then. Okay, so the correct move is rook c3, which is an excellent move. Congrats if you found that move. Now the point being is, you can't really move the knight, as the e7 rook is under attack. So the only move for white is rook e6 check, king takes f5, black plays king takes f5, and now knight d4 check. White can now um, relieve his knight and support the e6 rook, but that doesn't really matter after king f4, king takes h4, rook d3. Now white is forced to move his knight, and white will soon black will soon take the b3 pawn. So giving check is the only best try for white. If black plays king f5, then that's a blunder, because after rook b6, let me show that. After king f5, after rook b6, you can't take rook takes b3 as knight d4 check, knight fork is coming, and you will eventually lose the b4 pawn and lose the game. So coming back, for knight e2 check, you should play king f3. Even now, you can't play rook b6 now, right? King takes e2 is going. So now Carlsen can defend the c1 b3 pawn by knight c1. By the way, it is not a game. This is not a game. This is just a variation which Karjakin missed a draw. Rook d1, rook c6, and now you can see the knight is tied down in that c1 square. Even if he plays knight a2, then quickly black can retrieve his rook and attack b3 pawn. So now black is coming on to attack. So it is a draw. King e3, king g4, king d2, knight a2, rook b1, rook check, king c2, knight takes b4, king takes b3, and now this is a theoretically drawn position. And yeah, Karjakin missed this golden opportunity. So coming back, Karjakin played king takes f5, which was a mistake. And now Carlsen's brilliant move. I want the viewers to find Carlsen's brilliant move to win the game. Please pause the video, like I said before, and try to find the winning move for white. Okay, so the winning move is rook e1. Congrats if you found it. As after now, in the current situation, black can't take rook takes b3. So white's idea is quickly play rook b1 and then take rook knight takes b4 and win that slowly in a technical process way. But okay, so black's best try is king f4. Now white can play rook f1 check, king e4, now knight a5. Now slowly you can pick up the h4 pawn, and slowly maneuvering your rooks and knights, you can slowly grab the b4 pawn and slowly win the game. It was a golden opportunity missed by Magnus. This is the variation which goes on, loses the game at last. Actually rook e1 was the best brilliant move to win the game, but Magnus now played knight a5, which was dubious. Even this is a winning. Karjakin played rook h1, and now came the blunder from Magnus, rook b7, which ends the game directly into a draw if Karjakin spots a beautiful study-like endgame. Not beautiful, it is really simple to spot it. So I want viewers to pause the video and calculate the whole variation about what's happening in this position. What can Karjakin play to save the game? Please think of a big variation, 5 to 6 moves variation for black to draw the game. Please pause the video. Okay, so Karjakin's best move is rook to a1. Congrats if you have found it. So after rook a1, now black is attacking white's knight, and is planning to quickly take the I mean, now if you move your knight to c4, then you are in trouble. As after h3, white really can't stop his pawn by playing something like uh, as king is really, you know, in dangerous position on h5. White's king is really dangerous on h5, so he may lose the game. Who knows? So okay, white's best try is rook b5 check. King f4 is the best move for white. If you take king takes h4, then rook h1 is a mate, so you should be careful. So since king takes h4 is not possible, and black's threat is to play h3 h2 and h1 queens, white has to take rook takes b4 check. And now after king g3, white is really in trouble, as if he saves his knight, the pawn will queen and it is a draw. Not a draw, he may also win, but yeah, it's a draw. Okay, so king g3, rook g4 check, king f3, and now at last after rook a1, after spotting the drawing move, Karjakin plays each and every move precisely to end the game in a draw, which is what we call insane human defense, which is a humanly mental defense that uh, players play in the elite. Okay, so after king f3, if you move your knight, then black will simply play h3 and win it, may not win it, but even that's a draw. Black will play the rook versus knight in game, then white should have to give his rook for the h pawn. So anyway, white can't do anything here. I mean, yeah, white plays knight c4 actually, and after h3, rook h4, king g3, rook g4 check, king f2, and now it is like repeating the moves, so you can't do anything useful, as h2 h1 queens is coming. So here the players agreed to a draw. After rook g4 check, king f2, players agreed to a draw. What a game this was. This game was played for around 6.5 hours. A long fight for Sergey Karjakin to draw the game. And that too was the third game of World Chess Championship, so it gave a big boost for him to further win the 8th game of World Chess Championship 2016. Even though he lost the World Chess Championship by the rapid format, he deserved to be a world champion that year. Okay. At the end, what I want to say is learning attack is easier than learning defense. As we can notice, many attacking players in the elite and rarely defensive players. So, I suggest you viewers to study Sergey Karjakin's games if you want to improve your defensive skills. So yeah, that's it for the video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more exciting contents related to chess. Also, please press the bell icon so that you get notifications from my future videos. Thanks for watching.